want to take you to Anaheim, California, where former President Barack Obama is speaking at a campaign rally. This one's for state Democrats ahead of the November midterms. Let's listen in.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. It is good to be back in California. It is good to be back. I love you, too. I do. I just had time to spend with some amazing Democratic candidates for Congress. You're going to hear more about each of them in a minute from some of the people that they're running to represent. They're going to testify to how wonderful these candidates are. But I'm going to talk about them anyway. But before I do so, I just want to mention I was telling them that I went to Disneyland twice when I was younger. The first time was when I was 11 years old. Now there is no better time to go to Disneyland than when you're 11 years old. And I lived in Hawaii, so this was my first big trip to the mainland. And I was with my grandmother, who at that point her health was starting to fail a little bit, and her eyesight was starting to go. I was with my mom, and I was with my baby sister, who was 2 years old. And we traveled from Seattle all the way down to Anaheim, and then cut across to Arizona and looped up. It was an amazing trip. Went to Yellowstone. But Disneyland was the highlight. Yeah. And, you know, I went and did all the, you know, bare necessity thing and the, you know, the Small World, you know, and the Matterhorn. I mean, it was the bomb. Second time, I was in college, and I was going to Occidental College up between Eagle Rock and Pasadena. And we came down here not to go to the Matterhorn or to do Pirates of the Caribbean, but to see Kool and the Gang. So I'm dating myself a little bit here. Those of you who were not born yet when Kool and the Gang was popular, you should go check it out. So we came down, me and a bunch of friends. After the concert, because we were teenagers, you could still kind of hang out in the park, and so we went into the gondolas. And I'm ashamed to say this, so close your ears, young people, but a few of us were smoking on the gondolas. Well, no, these were cigarettes, people. Terrible thing. They kill you. I stopped. But at the time, I'm a teenager, I'm rebellious. As we're coming in, there are these two very large Disneyland police officers. And they say, "Sir, can you come with us?" And they escorted us out of Disneyland. This is a true story, everybody. You know, I was booted from the Magic Kingdom. But you know what I remember about it was at the end, they said, "You're going to have to leave, sir, for breaking the rules of the Magic Kingdom, but you are welcome to come back anytime." Which I thought, well, that was nice of them. Anyway, those are my memories of Disneyland. I'm just giving you a little context for my appearance here today. I do. I love you, too. Now, I gave a long speech yesterday. And so today is a different role. Today, really, what I want to do is highlight the extraordinary collection of candidates who have decided to step up and bring out the best in our country. As I said yesterday, we're in a challenging moment because when you look at the arc of American history, there's always been a push and pull between those who want to go forward and those who want to look back, between those who want to divide and those who are seeking to bring people together, between those who promote a politics of hope and those who exploit a politics of fear. And there are times, I think, where we see enormous changes taking place, economic changes, technological changes, demographic changes, and people feel unsettled. People feel scared. People get a sense that if we don't change things fundamentally, that maybe our kids won't have as bright a future as we did. People are worried about whether they're going to be able to retire. Folks worry about whether their child's going to be able to afford a college education, and if they do, the mountains of debt that are going to hamper them in buying that first home or starting a business. People are concerned about climate change and preserving the incredible natural beauty that California represents. People are worried about a whole range of particular issues, but I think what I said yesterday, and I deeply believe, is that there are no set of problems, there are no set of issues that we can't solve if we're working together and we're true to the traditions that are best in America. But the problem is that during these times of uncertainty, it's always tempting for politicians, for their own gain, and for people in power to try to see if they can divide people, scapegoat folks, turn them on each other, because when that happens, you get gridlock and government doesn't work, and people get cynical and they decide not to participate. And when people don't participate, then that vacuum is filled by lobbyists and special interests, and we get into a downward spiral where people get more and more discouraged and they think nothing's going to make a difference. And that, unfortunately, has been a spiral that we've been on for the last couple of years. And the only way we reverse that cycle of anger and division is when each of us as citizens step up and say, we're going to take it upon ourselves to do things differently. We're going to fight for the things that we believe in. We're going to fight for the idea that every child in America should get a decent education. We're going to fight for the idea that anybody out there who's willing to work hard should be able to get a job that pays a living wage. We're going to fight for the idea that women should be paid the same as men for doing the same work. We're going to fight for the notion that our seniors should be able to rely on Social Security and Medicare and be able to retire with dignity and with respect. We are going to make sure that the men and women in uniform who fight on our behalf, when they come home, they are not just given lip service to, but they're actually also getting the benefits and the support that they have earned. We're going to fight for the notion that we're all in this together, and that what makes America exceptional and unique is that from all around the world, people, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, generations ago, or in some cases fairly recently, came here because they believed in a certain set of ideals. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All of us created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. What that means is that we are bound not by bloodlines, not by what we look like, not by the way that we practice our faith, not by our last names, not by our sexual orientation. We are bound by a set of ideals. And finally, we are bound by the notion that this is a government of and by and for the people. We don't have a permanent elite. We don't have a situation where some are more equal than others, or some have more say in our democracy than others, or you've got to pay $1 million or have high-priced lobbyists in order to have your voice heard and your interests represented in the halls of Congress and in the White House and in the state legislature and in every office of the land. This is a government for everybody. It's not for sale. That's what we believe in. And the good news is, and the good news is that we've got candidates who represent those values. They've stepped up. They're fired up. They're ready to go. I'm just going to talk about them a little bit here. By the way, some of them have their families here, so, you know, their moms are here, their dads are here. They're very proud of these candidates. Their spouses are here, their kids are here, so it is a family affair. When you step up and run for Congress, it's not just you. You're dragging a whole bunch of all your old friends from high school. You're calling them up. Come on out here. Let's get going. Josh Harder is running in the Central Valley. Where's Josh? There he is. Josh went to public schools, worked his way through college and business school, spent his career helping entrepreneurs create new jobs here in California. He's young, he's dynamic. He's got some corny jokes that I really like. He's told me about them. First time I met him, he says, "I work harder." I said, I love that line, man. Keep on using that stuff. People remember that. T.J. Kotz is running in the Central Valley. Son of immigrants, started 2 companies of his own, works to bring opportunity to neighborhoods where Wall Street and big banks don't go, don't invest. He's investing, he's creating jobs. That's why we need to send him to Congress. Josh and TJ may be running in different districts, but they're running for the same reasons. To make sure every Central Valley kid has the same kind of opportunities that they had. Then you got Gil Cisneros, running to make sure our kids can access the same kinds of ladders of opportunity that this country and the Navy, the United States Navy, gave him. More Navy medals for his service than he has years in politics. Spent those years since he was in the Navy fighting for our veterans and for our kids in public schools. And I should add that he worked with Michelle on her Reach Higher initiative to help more kids access higher education. We could not be prouder of Gil. Just like we couldn't be prouder of Katie Porter, who's here. Spent nearly 20 years as a consumer protection attorney. That means she was fighting for you. 20 years standing up to the powerful special interests and instead working on behalf of California families. Directly helped thousands of families who had been wronged by big banks, by predatory lenders. And now she's fighting for every Orange County family to hold those powerful interests accountable. That's the kind of advocate you need in Congress. Just like you need Harley Rhoda. Successful entrepreneur, philanthropist, helping all sorts of companies start up and grow and create opportunity. He's not running for Congress just to be in Congress. He's already been successful. He knows that when you go to Congress, you better be less concerned about being there and more concerned about what you're going to do on behalf of the people who sent you. And he's going to use that seat to advance the interests of all the people of the 48th Congressional District. So we're proud of Harley. Mike Levinson here. Where's Mike? Spent his career trying to protect this planet for our kids to make sure that they're able to enjoy the incredible bounty that is this beautiful state of California. He's the kind of champion that we're going to need in Congress right now, somebody who's going to be a leader on environmental issues, a leader on climate change, a fighter to make sure that everybody's getting higher wages, working to prevent gun violence, working to protect our health care, because there are people out there right now that are counting on us to make sure they still have health care after this election. That's on the ballot, and Mike's going to make sure that he's fighting to keep it. And even though Katie Hill can't be here today, because she's at another event for working men and women of LA, but if you're from her community, you already know Katie. Daughter of a local nurse and a police officer, educated in the public schools. Now she's running to take the values of her community to Washington and make real change. So these are some of the men and women, so many of them who never imagined running for office. But what they understood is the stakes are high in this election. This is a consequential moment in our history. And the fact is that if we don't step up, things can get worse. Where there's a vacuum in our democracy, when we are not participating, we're not paying attention, when we're not stepping up, other voices fill the void. But the good news is, in 2 months, we have a chance to restore some sanity in our politics. We have the chance to flip the House of Representatives and make sure there are real checks and balances in Washington. And I cannot tell you, all across the country, you can feel the energy. You can feel people saying, oh, enough is enough. We're going to kick off our bedroom slippers. We're putting on our marching shoes. We are going to go out, and we're going to start taking some clipboards out. And we're going to start knocking on some doors. And we're going to start making some calls. We're going to volunteer. We're going to talk to our family members. We're going to talk to the folks who've been sitting on the couch being a little lazy when it comes to their responsibilities and duties as citizens. And by the way, we're reaching out not just to true blue, die-hard Democrats. I want to talk to independents who may have felt cynical about politics generally, but now you've got candidates here who, regardless of party affiliation, you can say, you know what, that person's going to fight for me. That person's honest. That person is in it for the right reasons. I trust that person. I want to reach out to some Republicans who kind of harken back to the values of a guy named Abraham Lincoln, first Republican president, and who say to themselves, I don't recognize what's going on in Washington right now. That's not what I believe. That's not who we are as a people and as a country. The biggest threat to our democracy, I said yesterday, is not, it's not one individual. It's not one big super PAC billionaires. It's apathy. It's indifference. It's us not doing what we're supposed to do. So as I look out at this amazing collection of volunteers and activists and moms and dads and police officers and nurses and teachers and small business leaders, and as I look at this group that is representative of this state and representative of this nation, people who are young and who are young at heart, I cannot help but feel optimistic, because if you are doing what you need to do, if you're active, involved, hopeful, optimistic, energized, fearless, if you're going out there between now and Election Day and doing everything possible to make sure that this government reflects the goodness and decency of the American people, I am absolutely confident these candidates are going to win. And if these candidates win, I am absolutely confident that Washington will start working better. And if Washington starts working better, we're going to solve the problems that this country faces. And we're going to deliver to our kids the kind of brighter future that they deserve. Are you ready to get to work? Are you ready to get to work? Are you ready to get to work? Let's go get this done. Thank you very much, everybody. I love you. God bless you. Come on, everybody. Let's go out there and do this thing.